Eli Navarro did not mean to open the door. He had lived with Cothrex for 6 months on Horizon Station, and in that time he had learned many things. He had learned that Cothrex did not sleep the way humans did. He had learned that Cothrex drank nutrients that smelled faintly like burned metal. He had learned that Cothrex preferred silence, long stretches of it, broken only by soft humming noises that vibrated through the walls. Most importantly, Eli had learned one rule: never enter Cothrex's room without permission. The rule was written into the shared housing agreement, stamped with 6 interstellar seals, and backed by more warnings than any human regulation Eli had ever seen. Violation could result in fines, memory review, or reassignment off station. Eli had read it, signed it, and forgotten about it, the same way people forgot about airlock safety drills until something went wrong. Nothing was supposed to go wrong today. Eli had finished an early maintenance shift in the lower agricultural ring. His boots were dirty, his shoulders sore, and his head full of numbers that no longer mattered. All he wanted was to grab his jacket from his room and head to the mess hall before the evening crowd arrived. The corridor outside their shared unit was quiet. Too quiet, maybe. But Horizon Station often fell into strange silences between shift changes. Eli keyed the door open and stepped inside. The lights were dimmer than usual. That should have been his first warning. He frowned and tapped the wall panel. No response. Power fluctuation, maybe? That happened sometimes when the station adjusted energy flow between sectors. Eli took a step forward, then another, already thinking about filing a maintenance note later. He reached his room, grabbed his jacket from the chair, and turned back toward the common area. That was when he heard it. A sound like glass being rubbed together, soft, slow, and rhythmic. It was coming from Cothrex's room. Eli froze. Cothrex never made noise in private, ever. The alien roommate had once explained, in a careful and stiff way, that privacy rituals were deeply important to his species. Eli had respected that. He had even joked about it once, calling Cothrex the quietest roommate in the galaxy. The sound came again. Curiosity is not something humans handle well. Eli told himself he would just check if something was wrong. Maybe Cothrex was hurt. Maybe there was a medical emergency. He took one step closer, then another, his boots whispering against the floor. The door to Cothrex's room was not fully sealed. It was open just enough to show light inside. That had never happened before. Eli hesitated. His hand hovered near the door control, ready to step back and pretend he had seen nothing. Then the sound changed. It became sharper, more strained, and for the first time since they had met, Cothrex made a noise that sounded like pain. Eli did not think any more. He pushed the door open. The room beyond did not look like a bedroom. The walls had shifted shape, folding into strange angles that hurt to look at for too long. The air shimmered, thick with energy fields Eli could not see but somehow felt pressing against his skin. Strange symbols glowed along the floor in patterns that slowly moved, like they were alive. And in the center of the room stood Cothrex, or what used to be Cothrex. The alien's tall frame was partially opened, not in a violent way, but as if it had unfolded itself. Plates of dark, smooth material floated inches away from the main body, suspended in the air. Inside, glowing strands of light pulsed and twisted, connecting and disconnecting in patterns that made Eli's head spin. Cothrex was taking himself apart, not bleeding, not dying, changing. Eli's breath caught in his throat. He wanted to look away. Every part of his brain screamed that this was wrong, that no living thing should do this to itself. But he could not move. He could not blink. The glowing strands shifted again. Some dimmed, others brightened. The alien's posture changed, becoming more rigid, then more fluid, like it was testing different ways to exist. Then Cothrex stopped. Slowly, carefully, the alien turned his head. Multiple eyes locked onto Eli. The room went silent. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The glowing symbols on the floor faded, and the floating plates snapped back into place with soft clicks. Cothrex's form sealed itself, smooth and whole once more, as if Eli had imagined everything. But Eli knew he had not. "You were not permitted to see that," Cothrex said. His voice was different, deeper, tighter. I'm sorry," Eli said, the words tumbling out. "The door was open. I heard a noise." "I thought you were hurt." Cothrex studied him. The alien's eyes flickered in rapid patterns, a sign Eli recognized as heavy mental activity. Fear crawled up Eli's spine. He knew the rules. Witnessing restricted biological processes was a serious offense. For aliens, even more so. "I did not anticipate interruption," Cothrex said slowly. "This is unfortunate." Eli swallowed. "Am I in trouble?" "Yes," Cothrex said. The word landed like a weight. "But," the alien continued, "not in the way you believe." Cothrex moved closer. Eli forced himself not to step back. The alien stopped at a respectful distance, towering over him. "What you witnessed," Cothrex said, "is forbidden knowledge." Eli laughed weakly. "Yeah, I figured." "For my species," Cothrex continued, "and for most others, self-modification at that level is prohibited. It causes instability, loss of identity." "Extinction." Eli stared at him. "Then why do it?" Cothrex was silent for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was quiet. "Because stagnation is worse." Eli felt a chill that had nothing to do with the room's temperature. "You were changing yourself." "Why?" Cothrex looked away, something Eli had never seen him do before. "Because we cannot change the way you do." Eli frowned. "Humans?" Cothrex's eyes returned to him, sharp and focused. "Your species adapts under pressure, mentally, socially, tactically. You rewrite yourselves through experience, pain, and failure. You do not require physical disassembly." Eli did not know what to say. He had never thought of humanity that way. To him, humans were messy, emotional, stubborn creatures who survived by luck as much as skill. Cothrex stepped back. "You should not exist as you do," he said. "Not by galactic standards." "That's
comforting," Eli muttered. A faint sound escaped Cothrex.
It took Eli a second to realize it was laughter. Strange, clicking laughter, but laughter all the same. "You are dangerous," Cothrex said, "and you do not realize it." An alarm suddenly echoed through the station. Not loud, but sharp enough to cut through the moment. Emergency lights flickered on in the hallway beyond the room. Cothrex stiffened. "That is not scheduled." Eli's instincts kicked in. "That's a power surge alarm. Comes from the outer ring." Cothrex's eyes narrowed. "That sector houses multiple species. And the emergency protocols," Eli said, already moving toward the door, "are slow." Cothrex watched him for a moment, then followed. As they stepped into the corridor, the station lights dimmed further. Somewhere far away, metal groaned. Eli's heart started to race, not with fear, but with something else. "Focus. This is what I mean," Cothrex said quietly as they moved. "You have already shifted. Your breathing, your posture, your priorities." "Ellie did not slow down." "Yeah, well, we're good at reacting." Cothrex's voice carried something new now. Not fear, respect. And as Horizon Station trembled around them, neither of them realized that a single open door had just changed how the galaxy would see humanity forever. The corridor lights flickered again as Eli and Kothrex moved quickly through the habitat ring. The smooth hum of Horizon Station had changed into something uneven and strained, like a machine trying to breathe through a blocked lung. Eli felt it in his feet first. Vibrations. Small but wrong. "That tremor," Eli said, slowing just enough to steady himself. "That wasn't just power rerouting." Kothrex's long stride never faltered. "Agreed."
Structural stress is increasing. They turned a corner and nearly collided with a group of aliens clustered in the hallway. 3 different species stood frozen in place, their varied forms tense and rigid.
One of them, a short, wide-bodied being with translucent skin, was shaking so badly its support harness rattled. "The lights went out in our sector," it said, voice warbling. "The systems are not responding." Kothrex stepped forward. "Remain calm. Station control will—" "They are not responding either," another alien interrupted. "The command channel is silent." Eli's stomach tightened. No command channel meant no instructions, no permissions, no carefully approved responses. To most species on the station, that was unthinkable. To humans, it was Tuesday. Eli pulled his wrist console up and scanned the emergency readouts. The interface lagged, numbers flickering in and out. "Multiple failures," he muttered. "Life support in the outer residential ring is dropping. Oxygen mix is unstable." The shaking alien made a high-pitched sound of distress. "That ring houses non-adaptive species. They cannot tolerate fluctuation." "I know," Eli said. "That's why we need to move." The aliens stared at him. "Move where?" one asked. "To the junction hub," Eli replied. "We can reroute support manually." Kothrex turned slowly to look at him. "Manual rerouting requires authorization."
Eli met his gaze.
Authorization is offline. That does not change procedure. Eli took a breath. He could feel it happening again, the same shift Kothrex had mentioned earlier.
The moment where rules faded and priorities sharpened. "People are going to suffocate if we wait," Eli said. "Procedure won't save them." The aliens exchanged looks filled with confusion and fear. To them, breaking protocol was more dangerous than system failure. Protocol was safety. Protocol was survival. Kothrex watched Eli carefully. "You would alter core systems without approval." "Yes," Eli said simply. "That action could permanently change station architecture." Eli shrugged. "Then the station will be different." Another tremor rolled through the floor, stronger this time. The shaking alien let out a sound that bordered on a sob. Kothrex made a decision. "You will lead," he said. Eli blinked. "What?" "You understand these systems in ways the rest of us do not," Kothrex continued. "I will assume responsibility." Eli didn't waste time arguing. He turned and started running. The junction hub was already crowded when they arrived. Humans were there first, as usual, clustered around open panels, pulling cables, talking over one another in fast, clipped sentences. Someone had dragged emergency oxygen canisters into the center of the room. Another person was standing on a crate, shouting instructions. Eli recognized her immediately. "Mara," he called out. She looked up, relief flashing across her face. "Thank God. You seeing this mess?" "Outer ring life support is failing. Control is down." "We figured," Mara replied. "We're rerouting, but the system keeps locking us out."
Eli glanced at the exposed panel. "Because it's trying to protect itself." "That's helpful," she said dryly.
Kothrex stood at the edge of the room, watching. The way humans moved fascinated him. No central command. No waiting for orders. Just people identifying problems and acting, overlapping, correcting each other without stopping. "Okay," Eli said, crouching by the panel. "We don't ask it. We trick it. Mara grinned. That's the spirit. Eli pulled a connector loose and rerouted it through a maintenance loop the designers had never intended to be used this way. The console screamed warnings. He ignored them. What are you doing? An alien engineer demanded, voice sharp with panic. Saving lives, Eli replied without looking up. The lights flickered violently, then steadied. A soft chime echoed through the hub. Mara checked her console. Oxygen level stabilizing in Sector C. A wave of relief moved through the humans. The aliens looked horrified. You have violated safety constraints, the engineer said. The system will record this. Good, Eli said. Let it remember what worked. Kothrix stepped closer to the panel, eyes glowing faintly. You altered system behavior permanently. Eli wiped sweat from his forehead, only a little. Another alarm sounded, different this time, deeper. Mara's smile faded. That's structural. Eli's heart sank. Where? Lower transit spine, she said. Pressure imbalance. Kothrix stiffened. If that collapses, the station will split. The room went quiet. For a moment, fear tried to take hold. Eli felt it rising, cold and heavy. Then something else pushed it aside, the same thing that had carried humans through disasters for centuries. Problem. Focus. Act.
How long? Eli asked. Minutes, Mara said.
Eli looked around. Okay. We can't fix it the right way, so we do it the wrong way. Kothrix tilted his head. Explain. We overload the stabilizers on purpose, Eli said. Force them to lock in place. That will damage them beyond repair, an alien voice cried. Later problem, Mara said. Kothrix stared at Eli. You would sacrifice future functionality to survive the present. Eli met his gaze. Every time. The decision rippled through the room. Humans moved instantly. Aliens hesitated, then followed. Fear outweighing doctrine. Too fast. Eli's hands ached as he forced connections, bypassed safeguards, ignored warnings that flashed red across his vision. Somewhere deep in the station, something groaned loudly, like a giant shifting in its sleep. Then the alarm stopped. Silence fell heavy and stunned. Mara checked her console again, then let out a shaky laugh. Transit spine is holding. Cheers erupted from the humans. The aliens did not cheer. They stared at the panels, at the readouts, at the humans themselves. What they saw was not relief. It was realization. Kothrix stepped back slowly, as if seeing the room for the first time. You changed the station, he said. Eli leaned against the wall, exhausted. We kept it alive. For now, Kothrix said, but it will never be exactly as it was. Eli smiled faintly. Neither will we. Medical teams arrived. Repairs began. Slowly, carefully. Life on Horizon Station resumed. But something had shifted, subtle and irreversible. Later, when the crisis had passed and the corridors were quiet again, Kothrix stood alone in his room. He activated privacy fields and leaned against the wall. He replayed what he had seen. Humans breaking rules without hesitation, adapting in real time, accepting damage as a price, not a failure, changing systems, changing themselves without fear of losing identity. He understood now why his people feared stagnation, and why they feared humanity even more. Somewhere in the station, Eli Navarro slept, unaware that reports were already being compiled, sent upward through channels that rarely carried human names. The galaxy had noticed, and it was watching closely now. The official inquiry began 12 hours after the station stopped shaking. Eli Navarro knew something was wrong the moment he woke up to silence. Not the normal quiet of Horizon Station, but a careful, controlled silence, the kind that followed fear. His wrist console blinked with unread messages. Too many. Station alerts, personal notices, and one message marked with a red symbol he had never seen before. Mandatory presence requested. Eli sighed and swung his legs out of bed. His body ached in a deep, tired way, but his mind was already alert. Humans did not stay relaxed for long after surviving something close to disaster. Cathrax was waiting in the common area. The alien stood perfectly still, hands folded, posture straight. He looked the same as always, but Eli noticed the difference immediately. His eyes were brighter, more focused.
"They want to see us," Eli said.
"Yes," Cathrax replied. "The Inquiry Council has convened early." "That sounds bad." "It is unprecedented," Cathrax said, "which in recent hours seems to be your species' preferred state." Eli snorted despite himself. "Guess we're consistent." They walked together through corridors that now held more guards than usual. Not armed soldiers, but station security and alien observers, their expressions unreadable. Whispers followed them. "That's the human," someone murmured. He bypassed the locks. They rewrote the stabilizers. Eli pretended not to hear. Cathrax did hear. Every word. The inquiry chamber was large and cold, designed to be neutral to all species. The walls shifted color slowly, reacting to the emotional state of those inside. Right now, they glowed a faint, uneasy blue. Representatives from 7 species sat in a wide arc. At the center was the station overseer, a tall being of polished stone-like skin and glowing eyes. Authority radiated from him without effort. "L.A. Navarro," the overseer said. "Step forward." Eli did. "Cathrax of the Trillion Continuum," the overseer continued. "You will remain." Cathrax moved to Eli's side. The overseer's gaze moved between them. The events of the previous cycle resulted in permanent alterations to Horizon Station systems. Eli nodded. "Yes, sir." "Those alterations saved over 4,000 lives," the overseer said. Eli blinked. He had not expected that. "But," the overseer continued, "they were performed without authorization, oversight, or adherence to established safety frameworks."
Eli opened his mouth to speak, but Cathrax raised a hand slightly.
Eli closed it again. "The question before this council," the overseer said, "is not whether the human acted with good intent. It is whether humanity itself represents a systemic risk." The chamber grew colder. An alien representative spoke next, her voice sharp. "Protocol. They improvise. They damage systems that took centuries to perfect. They survive," another representative countered. "Where we hesitate. That is the problem," the first replied. "They do not fear irreversible change." Eli felt heat rise in his chest. He took a step forward. "With respect," he said, "we fear it plenty. We just fear people dying more." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The overseer raised a hand. "Eli Navarro, describe your decision-making process during the crisis." Eli swallowed. There wasn't time for process. Systems were failing. Lives were at risk. We did what worked.
"You did not consult alien engineers," the overseer said.
"They were frozen," Eli replied. "Not because they're weak."
"Because the system trained them not to move without permission." Cathrax's eyes flickered. The overseer turned to Cathrax. "You authorized these actions." "Yes," Cathrax said. "Why?" Cathrax was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. "Because I recognized something we have ignored for too long," he said.
"Humans are not reckless. They are adaptive."
When faced with collapse, they change themselves to fit reality, instead of forcing reality to fit rules. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably.
That adaptability, Kothrex continued, is not common. It is not safe, but it is necessary.
A low hum passed through the chamber. The walls darkened slightly. The overseer's eyes narrowed. Necessary for what? Kothrex did not answer immediately. Instead, the chamber lights dimmed further, and a projection appeared in the center of the room. A star map. Vast. Complex. Red markers pulsed along several systems. A growing instability, the overseer said quietly. One we have attempted to contain. Eli stared at the map. That's a lot of red.
It is spreading, the overseer said, and our methods are failing. Kothrex looked at Eli.
This is why you were allowed among us. Why humans were placed in shared habitats, observed, tested.
Eli felt a chill. You were studying us.
Yes, Kothrex said.
And hiding the truth, the overseer spoke again. The instability alters physical laws. Predictive models collapse. Protocols become useless.
Eli frowned. So, you need people who can work without a script? The chamber was silent. That is one interpretation, the overseer said.
And the other? Eli asked. That such people are too dangerous to allow near the problem. Eli laughed softly, humorless. That sounds familiar. An alarm interrupted them. This one was not local. A harsh, pulsing tone echoed through the chamber. The star map shifted violently, one red marker flaring brighter than the rest. System breach, a voice announced. Uncontained anomaly expanding. The overseer stiffened. Which sector? Research Array Theta. Kothrex inhaled sharply. That facility houses pre-collapse species. Eli did not wait. How far? He asked.
Minutes, the overseer replied. Eli looked around the chamber.
At the representatives. At the fear tightening their movements.
You can debate humanity later, he said. Right now, people need help.
The overseer hesitated. Kothrex stepped forward. If we delay, the array will be lost. The overseer studied Eli. You would intervene again. Yes, Eli said. With or without permission. Another silence. Then the overseer nodded once. Very well. The chamber erupted in motion. Eli moved fast, already thinking through possibilities. The anomaly was different, worse than a station failure. Unknown variables, unstable physics. Kothrex followed close behind.
You are not afraid.
I am, Eli said.
I just don't let it drive. Kothrex considered that.
That may be the most alien trait of all. As they boarded the transport, Ellie glanced back at the chamber. The council members watched them go, expressions caught between hope and fear. Somewhere deep in the galaxy, something was breaking, and humanity was being sent toward it. Not as conquerors, not as heroes, but as the one species willing to step forward when the rules stopped working. The transport shook as it cut through folded space toward Research Array Theta. The stars outside stretched into pale lines, then snapped back into place as the vessel dropped into normal space. Warning lights blinked along the ceiling. Steady and cold, Eli Navarro strapped himself into the jump seat and exhaled slowly. His hands were steady, but his mind was moving fast, jumping between problems that had not fully appeared yet. Across from him, Kothrex sat in complete stillness. His eyes were closed, inner membranes flickering with faint light. You're thinking hard, Eli said. I am recalibrating, Kothrex replied. The anomaly disrupts prediction. That is uncomfortable. Eli smiled faintly. Welcome to how we live. The transport shuddered again. The pilot's voice came through the speakers tight with strain. Approaching Array Theta. Structural integrity compromised. Then they'd shown. Sensors are unreliable. Eli leaned forward.
How bad? Reality distortion field is expanding. Internal geometry no longer matches external schematics. Cathrex opened his eyes.
The array is already failing. The docking clamp engaged with a loud clang that echoed through the hull. The hatch opened, and the air that rushed in felt wrong.
Not poisonous, not thin, just heavy. Like the universe itself was pressing closer. The corridor inside the array bent slightly to the left, though Eli knew it should have been straight. "That's not good," he muttered.
"It is worse than expected,"
Cathrex said. They moved quickly. Emergency lights painted the walls in dull red. Gravity fluctuated in soft waves, enough to make walking uncomfortable. Panels sparked where energy bled through places it should not exist. They passed the first group of survivors near the central lab, aliens of several species huddled together, eyes wide, bodies tense. Some clutched data tablets like shields. Others simply stared at nothing. A tall, thin alien stepped forward. "You should not be here," she said. "The protocols are dead," Eli finished.
"Where's the core?"
She hesitated. "It is everywhere." Cathrex tilted his head. "Explain." "The anomaly no longer obeys containment," she said.
"It spreads through possibility. Every adjustment we make creates new failure paths."
Eli felt a familiar tightening in his chest. "So it's reacting to you?" "Yes," she said softly. "To observation. To control." Eli nodded slowly. "Then we stop trying to control it." The alien stared at him. "You cannot simply ignore a reality breach," one said. "Watch us," Eli replied. Cathrex studied him.
Your approach? We change how we interact, Eli said.
"Humans don't always fight problems head on. Sometimes we work around them." They reached what used to be the core chamber. The room no longer had clear edges. Space folded inward, looping in on itself. Energy pulsed like a heartbeat, bright and unstable. At the center floated the anomaly. It did not look like a weapon or a creature. It looked like a mistake, a tear where the universe had forgotten what it was supposed to be. Cathrex stiffened. This phenomenon accelerates under structured response. Eli nodded, then no structure. He stepped forward before anyone could stop him. The floor shifted under his feet, tilting sharply. Gravity spiked, then vanished. Eli stumbled, caught himself, and laughed once, sharp and breathless. "Of course," he said. "Why not?" Cathrex followed more carefully. "Your neural patterns are adapting already."
Eli focused.
He let go of the idea that the room had rules. He stopped, expecting up and down to matter. He moved like he was climbing loose rock, adjusting every step. "What are you doing?" an alien cried.
Learning, Eli replied. The anomaly pulsed again, then slowed.
Cathrex's eyes widened. "It is responding." "Yeah," Eli said. "It doesn't like being forced into boxes." "Same as us?" He reached the edge of the distortion and stopped. His skin prickled. Every instinct told him to run. He stayed. "Cathrex," he said quietly. "I need you to trust me." The alien hesitated. Everything in his biology warned against this. Uncontrolled exposure. Undefined risk. Then he remembered Horizon Station. The humans tearing apart systems to save lives. The way they accepted loss as part of progress. "I trust you," Cathrex said. Eli reached out, not to touch the anomaly, to move with it. He adjusted his breathing. Let the pressure change him instead of fighting it. The distortion softened, edges blurring. Kothrex felt it too. His perception shifted, forced into unfamiliar paths. Panic surged, then faded as his mind adapted in ways his species had never allowed. Kothrex struggled for words. This is unsafe.
Yup, Eli said.
But it's working. The anomaly stabilized, not contained, but balanced. Like a spinning object finding its center. Alarms faded. The crushing pressure lifted. The aliens watching gasped.
You didn't fix it, one whispered.
Eli pulled his hand back, breathing hard. No.
We taught it how to exist without breaking everything around it. Kothrex stared at the anomaly, awe and fear mixing in his gaze. You changed the outcome by changing yourselves. Eli wiped sweat from his brow. That's kind of our thing. The transport ride back was quiet. Reports were sent, data analyzed. Words like unprecedented, impossible, and unacceptable filled official channels.
But beneath all of it was one truth no one could ignore.
Humanity had done what no other species could. They had faced a collapsing reality and adapted faster than it could destroy them. In the council chamber, the representatives watched the recordings in silence. Eli's movements, Kothrex's transformation, the anomaly stabilizing without force. The overseer spoke at last. We can no longer classify humanity as a minor participant. A representative whispered. Then what are they? The overseer's voice was heavy. Back on the regulated variable. Back on Horizon Station, Ellie sat in his room, staring at the wall. He felt older somehow, changed. Kothrex stood nearby. You altered me, he said quietly. Eli looked up.
Sorry, I am not, Kothrex replied. For the first time, I feel
capable of change. They stood together, in silence. Outside, the galaxy shifted its understanding. Humanity was no longer just present among the stars. It was essential, and feared, and the final decision was still coming. The galaxy did not change overnight. It changed slowly, the way fear always spread. Quiet at first, whispered through private channels and sealed reports. Words like adaptive instability and human unpredictability appeared more often in official records. New classifications were created, then revised, then abandoned altogether. Humanity no longer fit. Eli Navarro noticed the change in small ways before the big ones. Fewer shared meals with alien crews, longer pauses before replies. Security scans that lingered just a little too long. He understood. If he were them, he would be afraid too. Kothrex noticed it more deeply. They are restructuring policy around your species, he said one evening, standing by the viewport as stars drifted past. Not openly, but the pattern is clear. Eli leaned back in his chair.
Are we being kicked out? No, Kothrex said. You are being elevated.
That sounds worse. The official summons came 3 days later. Not a demand, an invitation. The wording alone made the station uneasy. Eli and Kothrex traveled together to the council world, a place built not for comfort, but for balance. Every surface adjusted itself constantly to avoid favoring any one species. Even the air felt measured. The council chamber was full, more full than Eli had ever seen it. Representatives from dozens of systems watched as the human and the Trellian took their places at the center. The overseer stood again, his stone-like face unreadable. Eli Navarro, the overseer said, you stand here not as an individual, but as a symbol. Eli swallowed. I didn't ask for that. No, the overseer replied. That is part of the concern. A ripple moved through the chamber. The overseer continued. Humanity has demonstrated an ability to adapt to conditions that destabilize all known predictive models. You alter yourselves in response to crisis, rather than preserving fixed identity.
That's just surviving, Eli said quietly. For us, another representative said, identity is survival. Kothrex stepped forward. And that is why you are failing.
The chamber reacted instantly. The one. Shock, anger, fear.
You accuse the council, one voice snapped. I state an observable truth, Kothrex replied.
We built civilizations on stability, on repeatable outcomes. But the universe is changing. The overseer raised a hand. Silence fell. The instability will return, Kothrex continued, in forms we cannot predict. Protocol will not save us. Control will not save us. He turned slightly, gesturing toward Eli. But adaptation might. Eyes turned to the human again. You would place our survival in the hands of an unregulated species? A representative demanded.
No, Kothrex said. You would place it alongside them. Eli took a breath and stepped forward.
We're not here to rule anyone, he said. We don't want control.
Most of us barely control our own lives. That drew a few uncomfortable reactions. But when things break, Eli continued, we don't wait for permission to fix them. We try. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes we make things worse before they get better. The chamber listened now. But we learn, Eli said. And we don't stop just because the rules don't help anymore. The overseer studied him for a long moment. What you offer, the overseer said, is chaos. Eli nodded.
The useful kind. A long silence followed.
Then the overseer spoke the words that would echo through history. The council proposes a new role. Every being in the chamber leaned in. Humanity will serve as adaptive responders, the overseer said. Deployed only when predictive systems fail. When protocol collapses. Eli's heart pounded. You want us to run toward disasters no one understands. Yes, the overseer said, and to change as needed to survive them. Kothrex closed his eyes briefly. And if they refuse? A representative asked. The overseer's gaze did not waver. Then we will face the instability without them. Everyone understood what that meant. Eli looked at Kothrex. Kothrex looked back. You do not have to accept, Kothrex said quietly. Eli thought of Horizon Station, of people frozen by rules, of a universe tearing itself apart. He smiled faintly. We were going to do it anyway, he said. The council chamber exhaled as one. The decision reshaped everything. Human teams formed across the galaxy, paired with alien observers who slowly learned to stop flinching when plans changed mid-mission. New doctrines emerged, not rigid rules, but flexible frameworks. Humans broke them constantly, and saved lives because of it. Kothrex changed too. Under human influence, he began limited self-adaptation rituals. Carefully monitored at first, then with growing confidence, his people watched in disbelief as he evolved without losing himself. What are you becoming? One of them asked.
Kothrex answered honestly. More.
Years later, Eli stood once again at a viewport, older now lines earned through crisis and laughter alike.
Ships bearing human crews moved through unstable space with practiced ease. They were not heroes. They were not conquerors. They were problem solvers in a universe that no longer behaved. A junior alien officer approached him hesitantly. Sir, may I ask something? Eli smiled. Sure, why humans? The officer asked. Why you? Eli considered the stars. Because when things fall apart, he said, we don't ask who's supposed to fix them. The officer nodded slowly. Somewhere in the archives, the incident on Horizon Station was recorded not as a disaster, but as a turning point. Not because an alien was exposed, but because a human walked through an open door and refused to look away.